think ultimately, it kind of helps propel you into true adulthood.
I like analogies. So to me, is college worth it? That's like saying, is a gym membership worth it? It depends on what you do with it. Yeah. It's like, is Equinox worth $200? Maybe not for what you're trying to do. So I think it all depends. And in a majority sense, if you just think, do you need a gym to get in shape? Probably the answer is no. Right. But does having such and such at your gym help you stay committed? Like, it's a lot. It's very layered. So I would say that's how I kind of think about it, is comparing it to sort of like a gym membership. Is that worth it? Depending on how you utilize it.
Did you say $200 a month?
I feel like they're expensive. I hear their name.
That's got to be like Orange Theory.
All of them.
Heard about them.
That use fancy.
I do love it.
Orange Theory?
Yeah.
Is Orange Theory worth it?
At the present moment, it is not worth it because because COVID is still around and I am paranoid. So I am not paying any gym memberships right now because I'm not getting my money's worth. However, pre-COVID, I would say absolutely. Because for me, the gym is necessary because I need the classes. I love going to classes. I like to be able to, this is probably bad, compete with other people, to be like, oh, I see you're in the green zone. Let me get to the green zone.
That's what keeps you motivated.
It does. It keeps me motivated. Or even being able to see on my Apple Watch, this workout was a really good one. I burned 600 calories yesterday. It was just 450, So that's the kind of stuff but I agree. That was a good analogy there.
But that's what goes on in school. Sometimes people would say, oh, I want to build this business, but they don't see anybody else building that. Right. But if you get into a good college community, it doesn't matter which college you're at necessarily, but if you get into a good community and you're like, dang, I can't believe such and such just got on the SGA. That was, I got to do something now. Right. And it motivates you. And that could be what makes it worth it.
Speaking on is college worth it? Are any of you in your field? From what you majored in?
I am.
Yes. No, not currently.
It took me a while to get back to even be able to connect the dots, but I can kind of connect a dot. But I'm sure my job doesn't even know what my degree is in.
What? What is your degree in?
My undergrad degree is in hospitality management. So I was dealing a lot with hotels and restaurants and that sort of thing, being down in Miami. Right. And didn't really see myself continuing on that path once I finished up. But now I work for Uber Eats on the corporate side. So there is some sort of correlation of, well, I have seen what a kitchen looks like. I do know the business of restaurants. So it connects now, but it took a little bit. She talking about decades since. It ain't really been a decade, but it's getting since I got that degree. So it took a while to get back to it, but it fits now. I do not, like I said, I highly doubt that the determining factor of whether they would have given me that job or not was, his major though. Right. I think it could have been in anything and I still could have secured it. But
well, and I think though that's a key going back to the initial question, is college worth it? Because in my field, I did have to have that specific degree in order to get the job that I came out of college with. I told you in the beginning, I'm in accounting. And so I started working in Big Four accounting. There are 4 big major accounting firms in our nation. They're international or whatever. So I joined one of them. And in order to be offered a job in that position, I did have to have my undergraduate degree in accounting. Again, specifically for that position. And then, for other licensing and things like that in my career field, you had to have X number of hours. So I had to have the degree and not just, barely making it, but you had to have, passing grades and stuff. So I think that that's something that people should consider when trying to decide, is college worth it for me? Like Kwamina said, if I'm going to be a lawyer or a doctor, I probably don't have the option of asking myself, is college worth it? I probably have to. I mean, I don't know any doctors that haven't gone to school.
Me neither.
So
And
That's,
you
that's
can
facts.
it's you can take the bar exam without going to college, but it's not respected.
yeah, because
Mm.
you can. I've looked that up before.
She said I almost did it.
Almost did it.
I did. I really did. But then I chose another route. So
Yeah, so as far as you touched on something, it took me a while too to get into my field. Well, first of all, I started as a business major. It's kind of weird. This story's about to get weird. I was a business
Take
major.
your time.
I was a business major my first semester.
you didn't
I
make it a
got-
whole year.
Nope. I got a C, and they told me I had to retake a class.
Oh no,
I feel like that's when I knew
this was not.
this
for
is
me.
not for me because
Really?
I'm just like, this is OD. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
here forever.
Yeah.
But so then I like gravitated towards mass communications, television production. And after I got out of college, I like didn't touch a camera for like a year or do anything along those lines. I ended up working at UPS and then working my way up to supervisor. And then one day I was just like, this is not for me. Like, I'm done with this. So I left, went to Regent, which is a PWI, and like kind of rekindled that flame for mass comm. Now I'm here doing, media directing. But it's just crazy that, doing media directing and like having a part-time business. So it's kind of weird. I started in business. Now I'm just getting back into business. I'm like, dang, should I have went to school for business? But then it's like, no, you shouldn't have because this kind of brought you here. So
And then you can always hire somebody like me when you need somebody to manage your money. So then that way
you might be too
have-
expensive.
I mean, I need that Orange Theory membership. Saying like, what do you? I need this.
I don't think I can afford that right now.
But nah, that's crazy that you say that, how your journey was, because for me, being in the industries, hospitality and sports, those are two industries that have low barriers for entry. And they're also glamorous, where people see it and they say, oh, that looks like fun.
Right.
So even though the work, let's say you should get paid $20 to do it, there's somebody else unqualified who's like, that looks like fun. I'll run around the hotel and or work on the beach. I'll do that for 12. So it brings your value down. And that's the same thing in sports. People say, oh, well, I want to work for the Atlanta Hawks. And then they'll do the job that you earn for and study for and prepare for. They'll do it for free just to say, oh, yeah, I was at the Hawks game last night. That brings your value down. And even in those spots, because it's so experience-based, I work for people who were at the top of the food chain. I'd sit down and talk to them. They're like, bro, I don't have a degree. Not, oh, I only have an undergrad. They didn't have a degree at all. They said, I left high school. I worked in this department for 4 years. I got a promotion from there in 3 years, and now I'm in charge of everything. And they were the ones making the real money.
That's
and then
crazy.
I get out of college and I can't see anything close to it or pay any of that stuff. And so I think the field portion is, I would suggest to somebody to say, start to really know yourself. If it takes a year afterwards, work somewhere and take a year before you go to school, because it is a big investment and you don't want to just throw stuff at the wall every time.
Yeah. And I will say that I didn't really get to know myself and my work ethic until I worked at a place like UPS. That's very, very high energy. Some of the working conditions aren't that great, but I had to deal with people who I would never have dealt with, in college, like people who been to jail, people who are on parole, single mom, single dad. So I got to see a lot, and it kind of like, made me a little more grateful in a sense. That's probably something I would have never gotten if I didn't work there. So still grateful for that opportunity, by the way. So UPS, we good. We good.
We good.
Working brown
I
good
left,
for you.
but yeah, we good.
So is college worth it? Because we gotta make your experience. It was worth it, but I like what you're putting out. It'll make people think because it's a maybe there.
Nah, I can't even say worth it, because of what Sam said is the value portion. So is there value in it? Yes. The value that I paid, I don't think I can say yes.
Okay, I like your honesty.
So he said paid. Did you pay for education or did you pay for the experience
Ooh.
in college?
I did not pay Norfolk State one dime. I was on a scholarship
okay.
all 4
Hey.
years. It was a ROTC Army scholarship, and that's what paid for my tuition and books.
That's a blessing.
And then once the suites were built, room and board.
That's a blessing. I did have a little scholarship. I had I think it was provost. I don't think it was presidential. So paid for a little bit of my things. But transparent moment, I ended up losing that scholarship. So we can get into that. Time management. I didn't really understand it in the beginning and ended up losing a scholarship. So for anyone that's watching and you're about to go to college, you really have to work on your time management now because there's so much going on in college. There's so many organizations. I was a part of like 3 organizations. Sometimes there's parties, but that's neither here or there. And yeah, just the amount of work, 18 credits is no joke.
Oh, you took 18?
I took 18 credits my first semester,
Did
my
you?
second
Oh,
semester.
your first and second?
First
Oh,
and second.
Sam.
We're tripping.
A freshman?
Yeah.
As a freshman?
I didn't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, do not follow down Sam's
No,
lead.
please
I do
don't.
not advise you to take 18 credit hours your first year of
Please
college.
don't.
That time, I mean, that's hard.
It was
with
crazy.
Sam.
There
I
is
took
no
18.
the one semester I signed up for 18, I dropped the class. And it was so I had a minor initially when I went to A&T. I majored in accounting. My minor was supposed to be Spanish. If you know me in middle school, high school, I loved Spanish. And so I had gotten to the point where I had passed, all the Spanish courses where you're learning the language. And we were now it became like a English class, but in Spanish. So we're reading novels and stuff and it really became like, you're writing papers and all this kind of stuff. And I had other things going on that semester. And I had to tell my senor, I said, Senor, I love you, but I got to drop this because trying to understand the novel in itself, I know Spanish pretty well, but this is a lot. And I couldn't keep up, so I had to drop. There is not a semester during my collegiate journey that I took 18 credit hours because it was just a lot. It was a lot.
18.
It's a lot.
The
That's
only-
6 classes
Yeah.
for those
Yeah,
that don't know.
that's a lot of classes.
That is.
Now, the only reason I ended up taking 18 credits my senior year, and I think my junior and senior year, my freshman and sophomore year, I was on a basketball scholarship at one school. Ended up getting hurt both seasons, but I almost had straight A's at the school the entire time. My whole thing was, I'm a ball out, go ahead and get me noticed by schools that guys who were better than me could never hold themselves in the classroom at the same time. So it was like, that was my strategy going in, but I kept getting hurt. And so I only got 1 B the entire time at that school, had straight A's, and I kept getting hurt, and I was so down. I was like, I'm done with school. I started telling everybody, I was like, I'm done with this, because they tried to play me. It was the banquet. And, my teammates, they dunking, shooting, the girls on the volleyball team hitting the ball, and I guess they didn't want to leave me out. So in this whole little slideshow presentation, everybody's doing super athletic things. And then they showed me sitting down on the bench before a game, texting on my phone.
Oh, nah.
To not, they didn't want to leave me out. And that hurt me so bad. I almost walked out and they're like, no, we're going to help you. And they helped me get a scholarship.
Right.
So I got a full scholarship to go to FIU, but I had to be in state and I was still a Virginia resident. So I was paying the out-of-state fees, all of that. Mm-hmm. And here's where y'all got to find a hustle. If you do study abroad, they waive your out-of-state fees because everybody's in the same place. So I had a full in-state scholarship, but I had to pay thousands of dollars just because of what my ID said. So I was like, bump it, I'm going to just go study abroad. And then that way, the money I paid to leave the country was less than room and board in Miami. And so I saved $800 $8,000 a semester by leaving and going to China.
And you got crazy experience. I mean, to study abroad in
Yeah.
China, to study abroad anywhere, I mean, it's amazing. I've always wanted to study abroad, but my mama told me I'm a little naive. My daddy is not Liam Neeson. He can't come find me.
Oh, snap. Talking about taking.
So yes. But I mean, I think that's crazy that you got to what was it, a semester or two?
I stayed for the whole year. I stayed for
That's
the whole year.
insane. I mean, you lived in China.
It was.
Nope. A lot of people don't get that experience.
Yeah.
Nah.
They don't. And I'm grateful to that. And I think that that's what part of the conversation that we can even keep going into was college worth it? Like, there's nothing I really learned in the classroom over there that was anything beneficial, but being in college afforded me the opportunity to figure out how to get over there and what to do over there and expose me to a lot of different things. So
Very true.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, to Darian's point, there are opportunities that you won't get that can come about from going to college. And I think what it sounds like, again, the bottom line is it sounds like it depends on what your career path is, what your major is going to be, because just like Darian said, he doesn't feel like anything in the classroom that he learned was beneficial to where he is now or helped him really get there. But again, for me, it's the opposite. A lot of what I learned in the classroom, I applied daily in my career field. And honestly, kind of in my personal life, again, because I'm accounting, so how I manage my money and those kinds of things stem from a lot of what I learned at home, but a lot of what I've learned in the classroom. So I think it goes back to what is your career choice? Where are you going with this?
I know for myself, at the time I wanted to be a doctor, so like Kim said, I definitely had to go to college, but the choice of college or where I wanted to go, I wanted that historically Black experience.
Yes.
So that's why I
Come on.
chose Norfolk State. And my background, I graduated from Princess Anne High School, which the culture there is different. Like at Princess Anne for like the marching band, we had like the triangle with an instrument.
Oh, whoa.
Want Pharrell in your marching band one time? No, so you can't
Probably.
throw too much shade.
Hilarious.
He said we had the triangle.
But it is culturally totally different.
I need to be some bass.
Oh, that's funny.
Was it culture shock for you to go from that high school culture into an HBCU, or was it because that's kind of who you are anyway?
Did you feel at home?
I
when
love
you
that
walked
question.
in?
It was like, I'm like the first time I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college. So I don't want to say like my family is kind of like,
Right.
like their hood, or a certain,
Hey, keep it real.
background. So the Norfolk State was just, I felt the love. I love the culture.
Yeah.
I love, everything about it. Even the bad things, like when it comes to your refund check with financial aid, it's going to take forever and a day.
They're going to send you from building to building. They're going to say, go to the admin building. You need to go see financial aid. You need to go talk to your dean. And you just be running
But
around
at-
campus.
Yeah,
But like
they will give you the
at a
runaround.
PWI, or like a white institution, forgive me if I'm offending anyone, those checks are cut on time.
Ooh.
That professionalism is there. Whereas with with my experience of HBCU, it wasn't. But I was there for the marching band. I was there for the
Yeah.
partying. I was there for the Greek life. I was there for the culture.
Yeah. Man, I think she just moved into the next topic, which is HBCU or PWI or HBCU versus PWI.
Yes.
Oh man, so I went to Bethel High School, and our marching band, like it was a majority African American like school,
Okay.
but the marching band, it wasn't. We didn't high step. What do you call it? We rolled step. Like we basically walked on the field. We had a triangle. Yeah, we had a triangle and all of that. So
Hilarious.
then I went to Virginia State, which was my undergrad, and it was a culture shock for me. Like
Really?
I only went there once because my god sister went to Virginia State. So I visited homecoming one time, and that's kind of when I was like, yeah, I want to go here. This is dope. But actually going there, I was culture shocked. The band, it was a totally different beast, way more discipline. And yeah, that's kind of where my head was at with that.
I mean, I can definitely, so I have experienced both on the collegiate level. and definitely two totally different experiences. And of course, just like, Kwamina said, I would encourage the HBCU experience. I think, again, you got to know yourself. If that's not an environment that you feel like you're going to thrive in, then, don't put yourself in that situation. If you're not going to be able to focus because the band is outside practicing, you have to know yourself. But the HBCU experience, I mean, first of all, my high school was, I don't know, Indian River is probably a good 60-40. So we got a pretty good mix. And when I transitioned to A&T, I don't feel like I had culture shock. I feel like I was just so excited. And I was like, Sam, when they had organizational fairs, I wanted to be in everything. And so that's what really kind of took me out a little bit. And I had to realize, like, well, you got to step back a little bit. But what I loved about my HBCU experience, aside from, the band, and y'all know we have GHO, the greatest homecoming on earth. You've got to experience it at least once in your life. Trust me. And, all of the partying, things like that, because we do, and PWIs have that too. But I really loved that my professors cared. And so what I mean by that, because I never want to say a teacher or professor does not care, but the level, I guess, of care and concern that my professors had at my HBCU was different than what I experienced at a PWI. So the class sizes are typically smaller, which gives you the opportunity to kind of meet your professors one-on-one. They know your name. You're not just another number. And I had professors that, a lot of us were away from home, and so they would invite us into their homes and cook for us. Or if I missed a class, I might get a phone call like, where were you today? And you need to have a good excuse, and things like that. They were people that we could actually talk to, and I didn't feel bad for going to visit them during their office hours like I was a bother, and they really helped you, tried to help you learn the information and things like that. So my HBCU experience was amazing. And then for grad school, I went to Michigan State, go green, and I loved that experience as well, but it was only for a year. It was a totally different experience. They didn't have the same, so I guess the difference was for me primarily, again, professors, my classes, because it was a grad school program, were still small, but on the undergraduate level, an accounting course could have 300 kids. And that was just insane for me. I mean, how do you learn this just sitting in an auditorium? Like, it's a hard subject. And so that was for me, a bit of a turnoff. Like, I wouldn't have liked that for undergrad. I feel like I would get lost in the sauce. And then the difference for me was also when it came to sporting events. Y'all know, sports and stuff is huge at PWIs. And the fans are there in support of the team, whereas sometimes on the HBCU level, we're there to support the band, unless you've just got a winning team in this specific sport. But it was a totally different experience, I will say, on the college sports level. But I enjoyed both, but I am biased to the HBCU experience. So,
did you try to make those same connections that you had with your undergraduate professors that you did with your graduate professors? Do you feel like you put the same effort into that?
I can't say, if I'm being honest, and maybe what gave me that relationship with my professors at the HBCU was that I was involved in like the clubs. For example, the accounting department had different clubs. So whether it was Alabeam or Beta Alpha Psi, and because I was a part of that, professors served as like grad advisors, or they would stay after school and help us through things and help us through interviewing and all those kinds of things that I needed to progress, onto the next level. And then when I got to Michigan State, I didn't need any of that. But I don't honestly remember them even kind of advertising that on the graduate level. Mm-hmm. So they may not have had it. But staying after school and staying extra time, not just going to class for that 50 minutes and then keeping it moving. Now, so I will say that was part of the difference. And then even you're now you're in the minority at the PWI. So my circle of friends was smaller than it was at A&T. So I didn't, whatever we were kind of doing is what we were doing. Whereas at A&T, I could have different pockets of friends. So if it was a professional event, they might say, hey, such and such company is on campus. You want to go do this? And then let's do something after. So maybe if I had fostered that relationship or tried to get involved a little more at my PWI, we could have had that kind of relationship. Because I don't think some of my professors just weren't cool. We just never developed that connection.
Nah, because that's when you talk about that, I think something that, not specifically professors, but there's not a professor now. I'm sure there's professors you got that you could call today.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't even say that because I saw one of my professors the other day at the Wine Fest and she was still cool. But that was a China one. That was a crazy story. But besides her, there's not really anybody I'll call on to say, hey, what's going on here or that. And like you said, it's not the fact that they wouldn't be open to it. It's really, did I take the time? Like you said, there's 30 kids in this class. If you want to be that one that they care about, you can be that. But you have to
foster that relationship.
I think is if they open the door, that's on you to kind of really build it up if you're in an HBCU or a PWI. And for me, in my experience, I can't even say I attended a PWI because my school was so Latino gang, it was crazy.
What
It was
school
70,
this?
Florida International. And even when I was at Palm Beach State, that was more of a junior college vibe, so very local, but down in Florida. But with all of that, it was never too much overbearing because for me, I went to a private school out here, but also went to a public school out here. And I was very aware of my surroundings, and my dad coached at Norfolk State. So I always felt like I had the HBCU experience without having to go attend one. So I used to even shun, I don't want to go to one. Because I was not, saying that I'm not going to get my refund check on time I was like, I've seen this, I've done it, but what I didn't do was foster relationships with other people who would care about me maybe as much as my aunt or uncle would. So I think that that's something I missed. And the other thing I could say that I'm jealous about my HBCU friends is I feel like I have some really strong friendships. I see really strong brotherhoods and sisterhoods. And I think that is really love my friends to death, and we're out, and I've been to Columbia and been at Abuela's house. I love it. But some of the things they got, I'm like, dang, y'all really really in it. That is a literal brother.
Man, I will definitely say that I have gained brothers and sisters from an HBCU. People I still talk to today. People I will still hang out with today. Even though our lifestyles aren't the same, I mean, we still have things in common. We can talk about old college stories. Because it's really when I think about it, they was shooting in the gym with me, trying to turn in a paper at 11:59, walking to Walmart, walking to Cookout, just
Y'all
things
had
of that nature.
cookout?
Yeah, we had a cookout about a mile away, and we walked right to it almost every night. But it's you really develop. I will say that's the difference. But I didn't necessarily go to a PWI for undergrad. I went to Regent for my graduate. As far as the relationships go, I feel like I had better relationships in the HBCU than the PWI. I don't understand why.
Were you there? The same people you're talking about, did you meet them freshman year?
I met some of them freshman and sophomore year.
Okay.
Did you stay on campus at Regent?
No.
So you weren't forced to, at an HBCU, you left home.
Right.
So campus is what you had. So
That's
you
true.
had to foster those relationships. So being at Regent, because you weren't on campus, you could go home, hang out with whoever your normal crowd is. So you you weren't in a position where you had to build relationships with new people.
But it's funny you say that because the relationships I built at Regent are all business relationships. These are people I can call for work, or they call me for work. So it's but people at the HBCU, it's not really a business or working relationship. It's just fun and games. So that kind of says something.
Now, let me throw a wrench in that.
A wrench.
So,
oh man.
I shared that at my HBCU, I had different pockets of friends for them. I had my social friends, we're going to hang out. This is who I hang out with, just on the fly. And then I had, my accounting group of friends. And three of my accounting group of friends, we all went to school at Michigan State together. And so one of them, we've actually stayed in touch quite a bit. And he's married now, and his wife is really cool. But that kind of relationship is able to do both, because I think when you get to grad school, your focus has kind of shifted from the social and just trying to get my education to, all right, well, now I know where I'm trying to go, and I'm trying to hone my skills for what's next, which is probably why your grad school friends are more business acquaintances as opposed to those social friends.
From his point of view, I was liking how he was saying he did not care for the HBCU experience because he was, in a way, am I right, already living it. And so I had a friend, before I forget this point, Princess Anne High School, their demographic when it came to minorities, more specific Black people, was 5%. So we made up 5% of the population at Princess Anne High School. And I had a friend, he went on to Morehouse. We graduated in 2002. He went on to Morehouse, but his dream was Yale. So he went on to transfer to Yale his freshman year. Like, he was like you, over the Black experience, went to Yale. And then Kim, to caveat and to tie you in, he had that type of experience. Like you were saying, the relationship with the teachers wasn't that personal. It was more like, okay, I lecture you guys, go do the homework, come and regurgitate what I said. And it wasn't like a mother or a big auntie taking you under their wing. And the friendships kind of also were casual compared to like at HBCU. But for me, being that the population at Princess Anne was only 5%, I was hungry. I was hungry to the point that I even wanted to go to Booker T High School for that culture. My mother, only time she used reverse psychology, said you can go if you make it legit. But I didn't go, which made me even more hungry for Norfolk State, that HBCU experience. And that's all I have to say.
Once you experience the HBCU, there's no going back. Like, once you go Black, you never go back. That's so cliche, but it's true. Like, it's just something about the atmosphere at a HBCU that you won't get at a PWI. And what's funny is that I actually had some white friends, Caucasian friends. Sometimes I don't know how to say.
I think white.
Say white.
I think white is fine.
You're right.
I think white.
So I had some white friends who went to my HBCU and loved it. And we're on a minority scholarship.
Yes, and that is so crazy.
Yeah.
That's true.
And they loved it. Like, they loved every single moment of it. They just loved the culture. And I think that's the word. It's the culture. The culture is different. It's unique, but it's also kind of family oriented as well.
Right. It reminds me of, especially we're coming off a homecoming season. It's literally just like a huge family reunion. That feeling when it's the holidays and y'all all gather at grandma's house and you haven't seen your cousins or, and it's, like, man, like, I missed y'all. And it's warm, it's inviting, it's nurturing, but it still prepares you. And so I want to dispel the myth that HBCUs are inferior to PWIs, because I absolutely hate that that's even a topic of discussion, because it's not true. I think, again, if you do your work at an HBCU, and I can give y'all my testimony, my story of this, it truly is not the case. And I love to share that, again, I got my bachelor's in accounting from A&T. And upon me graduating with my bachelor's, I already had a job offer. Now, it was conditional, assuming I went to get my master's. But when I got to Michigan State for my master's program, I knew I already had a job based on what I did at my HBCU. So what I did at Michigan State, honestly, didn't matter. As long as you passed, you were going to get your job offer was good. You were going, you were good to go. And a lot of my counterparts, I remember they were stressing. We would be in class and they're stressing because they're like, I've got to study tonight for the test tomorrow or next class, but I've got all these interviews with all these companies. And, I'm like, oh my gosh, y'all are still interviewing. I'm good. Like, as long as I pass the test, like, we good money. And so it's not that we are inferior. Now, again, you have to make sure you're staying on your things because I do agree. Sometimes HBCUs can be lacking in some areas administratively or whatever the case may be. But if you find a good program where the professors are pushing you and making sure the companies are coming to recruit and you're doing your work to make sure you're at the top of your class, your grades, your GPA, your community work is good, you won't truly have an issue getting in, filling, or at least getting the opportunities to, fill those competitive positions in your career field. You just got to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
So with like HBCU, PWI, and like the opportunities that are afforded from going to each one. And I definitely agree. I can joke around about, our refund checks being cut late at HBCU, but sometimes you're able to rub elbows with top echelon of society. A lot of times, like the alumni, you have access. It would be the same at a PWI. Like Kim is saying, it's just how hungry you are and putting yourself out there and making those connections.
So can I ask, I'm going to start with Darian. How was your dorm life at Florida International? Is this FIT?
FIU.
FIU, Florida International.
Yeah. So I'll start before Florida International. When I was at Palm Beach State, we were only people who stayed on campus because we didn't have dormitories were the athletes, and we lived in townhouses. That was probably until the time I was like 26 years old. Where I lived when I was 18 was the nicest place I had lived. So there, it was cool, but there was no real campus life because it was people come in, people go out. Yeah. And all the guys there, our mentality was hoop and leave. Like, nobody wanted to build anything there. It was a stench of like, why am I even here in the first place? So move along past there, when I got to FIU, I didn't even know how to sign up for housing because I had never done it before. So I'm a junior, never signed up for it. There's no place to live. But then that's how I got into the honors college with my grades. Then there was an honors dorm, so I lived in there. And so from that, something that I also didn't know how to do, and this is more of a personal thing, I never had to make male friends like my whole life because it was show up to a new area, play basketball. Now I'm friends with 6 of the most popular people around, and they knew I would pass them the ball, so they were happy to be around me, and I'm kind of cool too. So that was always like how I got into a community, but I wasn't doing that there. So there, it was so foreign to me to even go to school. So once again, dealing with things you think a freshman would deal with, but now I'm 21, 22 years old and don't know how, like, I didn't know where to move. And then I was like, bump it, I'm gonna just move to China then. And then that's where, like, my roommate there, like, he's still one of my best friends. But it was that kind of thing where living in a dorm in China, I think that's something even more valuable to what we had. We were 2 people in one room, almost like freshman housing, but as upperclassmen, 2 people, one room. Our dorm for the Americans, we had a shower and bathroom in our room. The Chinese students were living the same 2 beds in a room, but they were bunk beds on top of each other. So they have 4 people in a room the width from this table to that table.
Oh my gosh.
And weren't upset about anything. Girls had to walk outside to go to the communal showers. Their hair would freeze by the time they get back. And they were just, this is how it was. And it makes you once again grateful, like, dang, I'm complaining because the hot water lasts for 2 minutes, bro. You have hot water in your room. That's not something that everybody gets, to where to this day, I am so grateful every morning that I take a hot shower. It's such a luxury that you don't even
Understand.
Yeah. So the dorm life, that was my experience, a very
You've had
unconventional one.
Quite a
That's
College is,
that's a
I'm
lot.
telling you, college,
Listen,
maybe
Darian
that's
has
why college don't make
experienced it all.
sense, because I had a really crazy route of switching locations and schools and things, but it's my life and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. For me, I only stayed on campus my freshman and sophomore year. Both years I was blessed. I don't know how, it was the Lord, I don't know. To get into the nicer dorms on campus. So my freshman year I stayed in Pride Hall 212B.
Giving out the number.
And then my sophomore year I stayed in what's called the Villages. So there are really, I think, 6, but there's really like 4 that are true dorms, and the others have like classrooms on them or in them. But all of them were under the same kind of setup. So I had my own sleeping room. So when you walk in my suite, there was a common area where like the couch, the microwave, the refrigerator was, and then you would go down the hall, and there were 3 bedrooms, and one person slept in each bedroom. And we had a door, so literally it was a private room, and then the 4th room was a double. So it was a larger room, but 2 people slept in that one. And then we had 2 toilet and shower rooms, and then the sinks were 2 sinks as well. So the 5 of us had to share the 2 rooms, but it was just us. And so they were nice, they were newer. But when I first came on campus, I guess 10 years ago, they're a little older now. I don't know. Sounds so old.
All of us.
I know it sounds so old.
Not me.
Sam's like, speak for yourself. Sam said for me it was like 3 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was blessed that I had a nice dorm, nice sleeping arrangements. I didn't really have to struggle with, some people say communal bathrooms can get pretty, and I get it. Especially if people in the hall aren't cleaning up behind themselves and stuff. But I didn't have that struggle. So I had a pretty good dorm life.
I was thinking about one, so I'll go first, but I need like a good on-campus story. Like, what is something that, and matter of fact, y'all both got hype, so y'all can even start if you want to, because I see now the way y'all shining. One of y'all jump in and go. But
So
I gotta
pertaining
go
to dormitories, like
either
Campus life is
whatever you need.
I'll quickly finish up. So my last 2 years in Norfolk State, they built apartment style dormitories called the suites. And so with the suites, it was I know when I stayed there, it was 4 to an apartment, but we had our own room with our own locking door in this apartment with 2 bathrooms at the corner at the ends of the apartment style dorm. So it was very, very nice. But to go into a quick story that Darian's asking for, sometimes it was I'm gonna say it was 4 floors at the suites, and then people would shut down the whole floor and throw a party. So everyone can, like, you go to a hall, let's say you're on the 3rd floor, and you can go to one room for drinks, and they're playing
snap.
music in the
I
hall.
love that.
Like,
That's lit.
so the party is the hallway. You're walking past, you see people or you're meeting people, and people got their red cups in hand. Some people dancing. Maybe the Greeks are party hopping on the whole entire floor.
Wow.
I love it.
All right, so here's the story. It's gonna start off a little sad, so bear with me. Is she praying?
I don't know. See, that's how she bears.
You like countdown?
Solemn.
All right, so we had an incident off campus. Unfortunately, 2 students passed away. So we were trying not to go off campus as much.
Yeah.
But that's where most of the parties were, like right down the street. You just get off campus, go right down the street. That's where most of the house parties were. So I guess an organization that I will not release the name of took it upon themselves to throw a party at an abandoned building on campus. I still to this day don't know how they got
I'm like, I like where
in
this
there,
is going.
but
like
they
house
sent,
party.
yeah, they sent, but the place was so weird. First of all, we had to enter through the basement, and it was pitch black. The lights didn't work. It's pitch black. We had to enter through the basement, and when you go in, like you see, like it's put together. Like there was chairs, there were couches, like it was actual doors, but it was abandoned, so it was kind of scary. But we didn't care. We just wanted to party. So the party was upstairs, and we got up there. It's like 100 people in a room. We just like, what is this? But I say that to say, like, I always wonder, why didn't they do this? Like, why didn't they have a party on campus somewhere so we don't have to go off campus?
So y'all school didn't do that?
We only had a party if it was like homecoming.
Yeah, see, we would do gym jams because we had 2 gyms, and one was like the hot gym. It was the original gym, but it was like a sweat box. And so they would use that, and if you were on campus, you would go to the gym jam. I mean, it would be lit.
So was there fights at the gym jam?
No. I mean, because everybody came. I mean, of course, if you do drink, you drank before, or you would finesse somehow, because obviously, they're not selling you on campus alcohol. But it was just everybody. It was like everybody just wanted to have a good time, and it was chill vibes. But I mean, it was crazy.
I think the years that I went there, that wasn't possible because of the people before us.
Yeah.
Because there I heard there will always be fights at the gym jam, like legit violence at the gym jam. So, but there was no violence at this abandoned house party, like whatsoever. Like everybody was good. Yeah, that's my little story.
Well, I'm gonna tell y'all my freshman year story. So it was a cool November evening.
Oh my goodness.
No, it's like, okay, so it was election night, 2008.
Wow.
My first time voting precinct was on campus, and I just remember my roommates and we ordered some chicken from the Chinese restaurant. They delivered, and so we had like our own little party going on in our room because, again, we had the common area. And anyway, so we were, eating and having a good time, and then election results popped up on the screen. And so everybody's it's cold outside, so everybody's in their rooms, but you can literally hear like everybody just start hollering when the election results. Of course, President Barack Obama won the election. And so I've only been on campus now, 3 or 4 months, my first election, and it was just so crazy. But because I'm not at a PW, I'm in an Hbcu at this moment. We had on campus this pool. It was our reflection pool. And it was like sacred grounds. You don't really play with the reflection pool because it's like that thing, in honor of our astronaut or fallen soldiers and things like that. But when the election results were posted on TVs and all on the news and stuff, everybody, it feels like everybody that lived on campus came and met so the reflection pool was kind of like right where the strip was. And the strip was just like the strip at Virginia Beach where you ride up and down. And because I was in Carolina, we had like cars that were like souped up. They would have and they would be designed after like chocolate candy bars. Like you might see a Hershey's, old school car, but it's souped up. We got rims and all that kind of stuff. And I just remember that night, Jeezy's My President is Black played. Everybody that had one of these cars was just driving back and forth, blasting that song, and people were like jumping, taking clothes off, not to full nudity that I remember, jumping into this reflection pool, but it was just like y'all, the energy that night, I don't think could be duplicated because it's the first time in American history that a Black man was elected. And now you're in an environment where it's all majority Black people. We were all excited. A lot of us, it's our first time voting. We're away from home. And it just really gave us like that sense of pride, that we did it. Like I actually played a part in that. And you could feel that literally exuding from every person on campus. It didn't matter that it was freezing outside. It was just, we literally just elected a Black man in the highest office in the United States. And so everybody, it was just like a huge party. And that was it. The energy, everything that was going on was insane.
How far is Charlotte from Greensboro?
An hour and a half.
See, this is something also y'all got to do. Y'all got to think ahead. Because I was stuck in prep school at Barber Scotia College in Concord, North Carolina, the exact same
60
night.
minutes.
The exact same night.
However,
it was me stuck in this little tiny room with a few cosmic brownies, no TV, Oh my gosh.
about to
What
go
did
down.
y'all do?
It was so nothing.
He had those
besides
cosmic
play
brownies. Just sitting there
basketball.
like-
That was it.
He had those cosmic brownies.
I had the cosmic brownie that I was trying to make sure I didn't get robbed for. And I probably went and shot some jumpers that night. And I was just thinking like, I don't know what social media, I don't even think it's,
Yeah,
maybe
there
it was
was no
Facebook.
social
It might have been
media.
like, but it was something small
There
where
was
I could
no
see things.
Twitter, no Instagram.
It was Facebook to where I could see people having, I was like, this is so empowering but depressing. And then now I'm thinking like, dang, granted I didn't have a car. I needed a car and I could have seen it, but oh well. Anyway,
So at your PWI school, you was bored in the dorms?
this was not a PDL.
On that night?
I also went to a prep school.
Okay.
And at this school, it was really just this was an old HBCU that had no students. It had no accredit. There was nobody there but 26 basketball players and like 8 actual students. I don't know what they were trying to learn to get a degree in, but there was 8 students, and 2 basketball teams, and that was it. And it was crazy. But I wish that was a sad
But to
miss.
your point, Kwamina, fast forward 4 more years, it's 2012. I'm in grad school at Michigan State. Election night comes around. President Obama gets elected again. Totally different. There was no celebration.
Oh,
There was
no, you didn't.
nothing about it.
That's what's point
I
of
mean,
Darian.
truly,
it was like that
it
experience.
was. The next day we went to class. I mean, my professor actually said something slick out of his mouth, and it's me and my 3 friends that came with me from A&T, and we were just like, I cannot believe he
said that.
Hey,
I mean, it was totally different.
Wow.
I was in high school the first time.
Oh my gosh,
So
Sam.
It's okay, Sam.
wait, so we
You were
vote.
almost high.
So
like,
we
you was a
voted.
year out.
We voted 2012.
Oh, 12.
That's when I graduated. So
Right, so he got to vote that time.
I still got
Okay.
to vote.
Oh, okay, because you were 18.
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, I didn't experience any parties or nothing. It was just at
I
the
think it
crib
was
with my
at that-
parents.
High school.
But for
At the crib with my
I
parents.
honestly think in that period from 08 to 12, it was weird enough, but it became common and normal. In 4 years, it was like, oh, this is what happens now. People, like you said, from you going from middle school to high school, 14 to 18, it was honestly, for probably your class, no big deal. Because when you're thinking about it before that, you're like, I didn't even know what a president was. I was just worried about what cartoons were. So I think from that point, it wasn't a shot or a breath of fresh air or
Right.
release at that point. It was like, oh yeah, run that back.
Yeah,
Simple as
haven't
that.
really experienced the world at that age, so it was, yeah.
But for me, from 08 to 2012, I was fully using my degree. Again, I have a background in biology professions, and I was in the Army as an officer at the time. I was fully using my degree, you guys, to understand the running of the clinics, the understanding like the job performance of who and what is doing what. So is college worth it? For me, yes, because I was fully, like Kim is saying, she has a degree in accounting and she's working in that field now. You have your master's in film, right?
Yes.
And here we are. This is the mastermind of him. And Darian, he coaches, that's hospitality. Did you know that?
Well, my master's is sports administration.
See, and he's coaching now. And
We
then
all
your
have master's degrees.
undergrad was in hospitality. And that's something we utilize every day.
And let me tell you, Darian is very hospitable guest, or host, I mean.
I appreciate being a
Hospitable
hospitable
guest.
guest
You're
as well.
fine,
You
Kim.
throw some high parties.
For something in the water, he actually cooked us brunch, and there were these little pancakes with Fruity Pebbles in them with a little dollop of whipped cream. It was superb.
You can cook.
Well, that was part of the coursework, which is why I don't even enjoy like really cooking now. Cause like, oh, you have to make braised lamb with the side of like,
Wait a
and
second.
I had to like sit in there and like go through a whole rib cake. Like, nah.
I was just telling my wife.
Hospitality and hotel management for your undergrad? See, yes. So it would make sense you had to know how to run a kitchen.
but now I don't really want to cook
Degree.
nothing besides
I understand
brunch.
that. I was just telling my wife. I was just playing around. I was like, a man's place is in the kitchen, but just not cooking. But you, my friend. I might need to holler at you because,
Yeah,
man,
listen,
I
know
never
all the
really
rules.
learned how to cook.
I
I
know all
can
the
survive,
Oh, you gotta go holler at him.
but to cook,
Offline, yes.
I feel like I would learn better cooking from a guy. He might have more
Mm-hmm.
patience with me. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm
Bro,
gonna have to holler at you.
listen, the only tip I'm gonna give you is go in there and do whatever you want to do.
All right.
Go in there.
All right.
And feel your way.
Hey,
That's
just
super masculine.
my advice for a lot of things is ultimate confidence.
Yeah.
If you walk into that kitchen and believe that whatever you're
Believe.
putting in this pan is gonna come out well,
So you're telling me if I want to make a baked peanut butter and jelly sandwich, it's possible.
yes,
it is.
Baked.
yes.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. I'm gonna make a baked peanut butter and jelly sandwich and bring it to the next episode and let them try it.
Hold-
But
I said you have
I'll
ultimate
try it.
confidence.
I'll
I didn't
try
say
it.
I had
Y'all
ultimate
gotta
confidence
try
in
it.
you.
y'all gotta try.
You gotta
it,
make
man.
sure it's good
Ladies
first.
and gentlemen, is college worth it?
College is. We still didn't really answer it, but
It's your choice.
it's
There
your
is no
choice.
answer.
It's your choice.
It was worth it.
So yeah, we thank you guys for tuning in with us today with my friends, host. We're all the host. No one's running this show. Well, it's Kimberly's show. But other than that, look how she's looking. But yeah, join us next time.
Please.
Join us next time on Sunday Ain't Enough, where we are going to talk about